Still not used to that every time. I'm like, what's happening? Okay, so I'm gonna actually bring up my client's notes because she told me I could share this because it was a really great example of this exercise, but I already have it in the week 2 notes ready for you to go as well. And so let me actually copy these notes for you and I'll put it in the chat box so you can kind of make a copy of this document. Let me just make sure it's shareable or viewable by everyone. And that way we can kind of do this exercise live together. Anyone with link? Okay. You should be able to see it. Okay, cool. So basically a lot of what the training was yesterday kind of goes perfectly in line with this, as well as the branding chat the week before, right? What do you want to be known for? How do you want to make people feel? What is the specific skill set you want to be known for? Oh, Heather's coming in now. And I'm going to bring up the training also from yesterday just to have that as well. What skill set do you want to be known for? And I'm curious too, as we go further, what some of your maybe big idea developments were, but that will probably be an extension of your secret sauce expertise, as well as doing that interviewing with past clients essentially, right? And that's going to take time. You might not have all your answers right away because it is going to take time to get those answers and then figure out, okay, what are all the commonalities between the clients that have had breakthroughs with me? But I'm curious if anything came up for anyone. So we'll definitely go around and talk about that as well. But let me share my screen. Hey, Heather, we're going through this content exercise, Heather, to help you take like what your secret sauce expertise is, what you stand for, stand against, and create a content plan that's really solid. So that'd be great for you because I know one of the things you wanted to do was create really regular educational content pieces. So we can talk about that too. So let me share my screen. Okay. So I just dropped this document. Heather, I'll put it in there because I think you might have hopped on right after I posted it. I'll put it again. So that doc is right here. And this is essentially what we're going to go over. These are like the main things. So I'll kind of bold these. This is more the title of the exercise. So the first thing I want you to actually do is let's actually switch these around. And we're going to first, I want you to just brain dump. What do you stand against in your industry or just in general in life? And I know that sounds very vague, but trust me, there's a point to this. This is where your content is not just going to be your expertise, but also going to take it a step deeper and really be so specific to you. Because let's just say, this is an example, yesterday's live training, email marketing, right? Say email marketing is your jam, or Holly for you, let's say, what's it called? Umbrella branding, right? Is your thing. Well, there's other people who probably talk about that too. So how is Holly's different than the other people who talk about it, right? Your stand for, stand against. That's what really makes it unique. And that's when people feel like they get you and they know you. They don't get and know you just because you talk about email marketing or just because you talk about umbrella branding, right? Or umbrella marketing. They get to know you for also the things you stand for and stand against within your industry and just as a human. So let's go through this exercise and let's just do 3 just for time's sake. But for example, and again, my client said I could totally use this as an example. A couple of the things that she stands against, which I think it's down here. The grind, busyness, working 60 hours plus a week, believing that this is what's required in order to be successful, right? That's one example of something she stands against. Another is treating clients just as a number, enrolling clients into programs and not delivering the level of service promised. Another is going into debt in order to start your business, investing in crazy high ticket programs before you're making any money. All of these are things that she stands against as far as her industry, right? So I want you to take a second and write 3 things that you stand against. And this is something we did in CAA. So those of you who are in there, this will be a little bit of a review, but I'm going to take it even further with the expertise. So just take like 2 minutes. I want to do this pretty fast and try not to overthink it. And write down what are a couple things that you stand against. I'm going to bring up another really good example.
Meg, do you want us to drop this in the chat, or are we making our own?
Yeah, you could drop it in the chat, but make your own doc, put it for your own sake, because this will be a really good exercise for you to do moving forward. Good question. Yeah. So put it in your document and then of course, copy paste in the chat if you're willing. Yeah, make a copy, Heather. I don't think you'll be able to edit that doc. think I made it only viewable. Looking for another example I had. Well, Heather, I'm going to use yours as an example in real time. Hope you don't mind. Okay, cool. So let's do an example. Oops, why didn't that copy? Come on. Bro marketing. Okay, hopefully this worked. Yay. Okay, great. So y'all get the idea. Yeah, I love everyone's. This is great. Not surprised because usually your values are the similar as the person you're attracted to. So not surprised there. Okay, so Heather stands against a one size fits all approach, right? Niching down because people feel like they have to, playing off of other people's fears. So Heather, if you want to unmute yourself just as an example, if you could take this one size fits all approach, tell me if that's what you stand against, what's the opposite of that?
Hey, I think these are actually mine.
Oh, why did I think these were Heather's? I'm so sorry.
Okay. It's all good.
Oh, okay, Holly, never mind. I don't know why I kept saying Heather. I just saw the H.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so Holly.
Yeah. All right. So what was the question again?
So basically, what if a one size fits all approach, that makes a lot more sense now. Although I could see that working for Heather too. That's why that's kind of funny. One size fits all approach, that's what you stand against, what's the opposite of that? What do you stand for? Essentially, why do you stand against that?
Basically like tailoring something and creating like a customized plan for someone or creating a customized approach for somebody. Like, I don't think that like one strategy or one, I don't know, one strategy fits for everybody. So like when I do coaching, for example, I really go based off of like what my clients' goals and pain points are versus like this coaching program is only for people who struggle with starting their business, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I kind of meet them where they're at.
Okay, great. So customization based on each individual client or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll put that. And why is that so powerful? If you had to explain that a little bit more.
I feel like it makes them feel like they're heard and that their uniqueness and issues and stuff like that, like they don't feel, let me think about this. They don't feel like they're like everybody else. Like I really try to encourage them to bring out their uniqueness, if that makes sense. So like, you know, making sure that they feel heard and they feel seen and stuff like that. My brain is not working today.
No, that's actually perfect. So even more like concise pillar. And again, these aren't things that necessarily you'll say my pillar is, you know what I mean, on social media. Now you can totally, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But like, I think the opposite of that is you stand for client customization and experience being number one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Client experience, essentially helping your uniqueness come out. That's a super powerful, like stand against a one size fits all approach. Does that resonate? I don't want to like put words in your mouth. Okay, great.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. And then I just put this like as like an aside. Now let's take niching down because people feel like they have to. What's the opposite of that? What would you say? And this is great for your umbrella brand.
Yes, I would say being multi-passionate. People having multi-passions within the same realm. I would say like, even for what I do, so like my umbrella brand is Daydream Co. And then I have my design company underneath that, my coaching company underneath that, which I coach other designers too. That's not like who I coach, but I do coach other designers. And I think that the fact that I'm a designer, it brings a different approach to it. And then I have my merch line as well, which hasn't launched yet, but basically like it's all about making people feel like they're intentional daydreamers, basically. So I think I had talked to you about that on Instagram before, but like basically like what is going to help people embody the life of like making their dreams come true. So like all those things fall underneath that.
I love the term intentional daydreamers.
I think so. Like my podcast, for example, is intentional dreamers. So I go back and forth between dreamers and daydreamers. It really just depends on what I'm feeling.
Yeah. No. Oh, sorry. Why did I click over to there by accident? Let's go back here. No, but I really, really love that. And I think that's definitely something. Oh no, I clicked out of it. Let me go back to it. Hold on. I definitely think that's something, Holly, that you can, I mean, you already start talking about it, but you can really consistently, like once a week, what does it mean to be an intentional daydreamer? How can they be an intentional daydreamer? And really educating your audience so that they start to understand that term and associate you with that term. Right. And
Right.
that's something like unique coaching method. I created that. That wasn't something that was made. Now the concept of being yourself, sure, that's tried and true. It's not like new, but the actual term I coined, and I started using it all the time since like last July, I'd say, to the point where now people literally, when applying for something, say to get more clear on my unique method. That's something I literally created, but because I kept saying it, it became synonymous. So I feel like intentional daydreamer could be that thing for you. I don't know if that
For
resonates.
sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. I've like thought about like turning it into like my hashtag and stuff like that. Like how you have like hashtag pretty awkward, hashtag
Yeah.
need coaching method. I love that. So
Totally. Cool. Ooh, exciting. Okay, great. So, and we're just going through this content exercise to take like what you stand against, create that into like pillars that you can really become known for. And I'm going to show you all how to take your expertise and combine that all together too. So these are just two, for example, and then we'll save the third for another time, just for time's sake. But that's an example of that's what she stands against. This is what she stands for. Great. So now we look at content. Holly could create a couple pieces of content, right? She could create, I'm going to do down here. She could create a educational post. Let's actually start first with the client customization theme, right? Like believing that's number one. Client customization and experience is number one. Now, how does she communicate that to her audience, right? You could do an educational post or live or real, any kind of post, and it's walking them through how you specifically customize plans for your clients, right? Like if you have a similar template for each client, this is a great example. Maybe this is a content thing I do, but here's how I'll customize it for each client and actually walk them through a very step-by-step, more educational so that they understand your process. That's also highlighting your approach, your process, and it's making it way more tangible for your audience. Does that make sense?
yeah, I absolutely agree. Cause I feel like with coaching a lot, and you were talking about this in yesterday's live too, cause I just watched it, but it's like coaching isn't necessarily like a tangible like item that you get. So even with like my design clients, it's very different. I'm not delivering anything really like a package or anything like that. So it's not tangible. So like showing people the value that they get is super important.
100%. And that's something we all could do more. Like, I think I said it 3 times on the live. I just kept saying it yesterday. I want more people to do, myself included, in the moment live coaching, because that's when like you can't hide that. It's either you know what you're doing or you don't. You know what I mean? And it's scary because we all have our bad coaching days. Like everyone has bad coaching days, even if you've been coaching for 20 plus years. So, you run that risk, but I also think it's just showing your vulnerability too. So I really encourage everyone to do it. But another way you could take this content theme pillar of client customization experience being number one is an inspirational post. So this could be a great example of a client testimonial who you helped customize her experience, her results. This is showing your client results. This is showing you as a great coach. It's highlighting your client and it's inspiring other people, right? And then you could do a relatable story post. And this could be your story, right? Holly's story from not having a customized plan to having a customized plan, or Holly working with a coach, and you don't need to say specifics, but I don't even know if you went through this.
No, I have.
You have, okay. I feel like most people have in some way, right? maybe you went through a time where you felt just like one of many in a program that you shouldn't have been, and actually didn't feel like that. And the difference, how it felt, and also what it did for your business, right? So right there, one pillar, 3 different content buckets. Now let's take it one step further, is what expertises do you want to be known for? So just for the example's sake, Holly, just give me a couple, like two things you really want to be known for in your industry.
Okay, so I actually started writing this down in my document. I would say helping people build their brand strategy. So like, and this goes off of like the things that I was thinking about for my secret sauce, but I'll get to that when we get to that point.
Yeah.
Being and encouraging multi-passionate entrepreneurs, and then like actually helping people become intentional dreamers without like just having a dream and not doing anything about it, right? Like there's so much more to that than just having a pipe dream and never doing anything about it. So yeah, that's what I would say, because I think that brand strategy is so important. And like I said, as my experience as a designer, I think that that's something unique that I bring to my coaching clients, because I have that branding knowledge of like, how do you really like create a brand from the ground up
Yeah.
and have it resonate with people?
100%. Okay, cool. So for just sake of time and like for an example, I want to use this one if you're cool with it, to
Sure.
show how we could take this and create more content. So let's say one of the things you want to be known for, people essentially, why do people hire you? One reason is they're multi-passionate. They want to make all of it work and be cohesive and not be confusing. So they're going to come to you, right? And so taking the same exact way we did this, we can say, this is what you want to be known for. Here's one way we can do an educational post. You can talk about 3 different ways to have a cohesive brand as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, right? And again, more step by step, and it could be 3, 5, whatever you want, right? But it could be more step by step, actually, like how do you do it? Giving them the how, right? Then it could be, and these kinds of posts, while like if your like main thing is more of a mindset approach to your coaching or spiritual, you don't have to have a ton of these. If it feels really forced, especially, there's still a way for you to make it feel good and not like 5 steps too, you know?
Right.
I don't personally do a lot of those, but I'll still have a lot of educational content that's still teaching people something. So just remember that you can still make it your own. Inspirational post, you could do something like again, like maybe a before after of a client who is multi-passionate. Maybe like what running a multi-passionate business does for you. And like all the examples that you've come to experience as well as clients. And then relatable story post is your story.
Right, because I just did this. I literally just converted my entire brand into an umbrella brand.
From feeling forced to niche down to embracing the multi-passionate. Love it. Now, if we look at these, because this is a big question I get, is great. How do I combine what I want to be known for, my expertise, why people will hire me, with my pillars, right? Well, right here, client customization and experience, that's more of a theme. And again, like who you are as a person. So you could easily tie this into your educational post for umbrella branding. And you can simply say it by saying, you know, in my coaching and in my programs, I don't believe in cookie cutter plans. I don't believe in copy paste strategies. I believe in helping you customize it specifically for your multi-passionate brand so that your message is cohesive, which is going to be different than the next person and the next person, right? So right there, you're giving this educational post on how to do this, but you're also tying in that pillar. So that's really how you can do it. And it was interesting with this example I was giving with my client before, we were talking about the sales was a good one. Let me go up here. So one of the things she's really wants to be known for that she's really, really amazing at is authentic sales. And one of her pillars is authenticity. It's pretty simple to tie that in. So we're not just talking about like how to find clients, building genuine relationships, overcoming objections. Overcoming objections is a great example. When she'll do an educational post about that, she'll also tie in how it has to be real. It can't be a copy paste script. It has to come from actually listening to them and being honest about the objection, not not just pulling something out of a script because someone told you to do it. That's authentic, right? So it tied in her value and her pillar of authenticity with really being great at sales. Does that make sense? So I want everyone to do this exercise. I wanted to go over it live because it can be a little bit like conceptual in a sense, but from there, we literally created a whole content plan where every single week she's doing 3 different pieces of content based on this. So picking one expertise each for each piece and tying in a pillar too. And slowly but surely, the more consistent you are, one, people are going to start to know you for that specific expertise, and they're going to get that you take it past that simple level. You didn't just talk about here's how to build a cohesive brand as a multi-passionate entrepreneur. You also explained your pillar of client customization, right? So it takes it a step further. So I'd love everyone to do this as like homework today or tomorrow, so I can look it over by Thursday and put it in a document, and I'll go in and give you all feedback. But I'd love you to leave with this, because literally she has her whole content plan now for like the next few months because of this. So this is like really, really gold exercise to do. So thank you, Holly, for being the guinea pig. I hope that helped also with your own content. Yay. Oh my gosh, Nina, you caught a possum?
Don't get me started. It was a baby walking across the street, so I caught it. You gotta watch my story on it. It's fucking insane.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
I put it back. I got it out of the street. It couldn't climb the curb because the curb's like this high. I pet it and then I put it back. And I love possums, so I was so happy.
You saved a possum's life. That's a good reason for being a couple minutes late. It's okay.
My wife wouldn't let me have it, so I had to put it back.
Oh my gosh. I gotta go watch your story. That's amazing. I love it. All right, cool. So who wants to go next? I want to make sure everyone gets their time. And it can be from this, it can be from the training yesterday, whatever you really need right now. I'll stop my screen. And we can work off of what you were working on last week too. Eva, how's your research going?
That's kind of why I need to, because in my research, my people they kind of surprised me way more. Surprised me, but didn't surprise me at the same time.
Yeah.
It was just shocking that what they remembered me for was not what I thought at all. So for a lot of the time, I've been doing fundraising and community engagement. And so I just sent a message to all my fundraising clients first, because I totally thought like, I'll just throw like community to the back of my brain. Like I want to work with community builders, but there's nothing else that I really want to do right at this moment. I thought, okay, I had the idea for the freebie. They were so excited. Let me focus on that. But in the clients, they were all like, oh, it was all your community stuff that we really loved. And I was like, oh, you're fundraising clients and you still mentioned community. So that's something that I'm still like, okay, so maybe profit strategist is not my title and something with community is.
Did they question for you, Eva? Did they hire you? What was the specific reason they hired you?
So they hired me for fundraising / development.
Okay.
Like business development, organization development.
Okay. But they said that when they think of you, they think of community building. Got it. And do you see a disconnect with that? Do you see them as separate things?
I think I might need a little bit of Holly. So like it's two passions of mine at the same time. So I think I have unknowingly always added them both in. And now that I'm marketing them, I'm just like, oh, okay, then maybe I should start with one and then extend the other.
So it's interesting, and I'd love everyone to weigh in. When you say community building, and then when you say fundraising, I think they go together so beautifully. I actually think of them together, because when I think of fundraising, I literally think of community building. I think like, what's the purpose? It's to help the community. So I actually think it's kind of great that they think of community when they think of you. Does that make sense? I wonder if anyone else agrees. Heather says agree. Like, what else comes up for you guys when you hear those two things? Curious. Heather, for you, when you said you agree, do you feel like if you heard community building and fundraising in the same sentence, would it be confusing to you? Would you think they're two separate things?
No, I think it makes total sense. And I think that if it's two things that you are passionate about, it will make even more sense the more you put them together. The reason I said I agree immediately is because, like, regardless of if they go together, if it's two things that you're passionate about, they can go together. Because, like, for me, nerdy, fitness, body positivity, like, those three things don't necessarily go together, but in my business, they do.
Good point.
And that's something that could make you special in the long run, even if it's not necessarily the first thing that comes up for people. And I don't think they have to be separate either. I think it can be something that you sort of intertwine.
I think especially, Eva, if the people who are telling you that were your past clients, they paid you, right? Like, they hired you and they think of you as that. What else did they tell you that was surprising to you?
So it was all like community building. They're like, oh, community building, moderating, leading. And I think it brought to mind like a dream that I had like let go of, like thinking, oh, it's not the one. But that goes into like having the resources. So all of them mentioned, when I asked them like what specifically, that question, they all mentioned like, well, you connected me to so many resources.
So you're also that connector for them. That was a huge thing. So there's a kind of, maybe really quick, we can go through an exercise. Do you think this would help you? Is like, what are the different commonalities or like links we can make between community, like making your mark as a community builder and making your mark as a fundraising expert? Does that help? If we could do that, like a quick link. So let's just, and this could be, everyone can help out too. But what comes to mind, Eva, the first thing that those two things have in common? What's like a common link you can think of between those two things?
I think a common link is the why behind it. So the why behind your community and the why behind what you're fundraising for.
Ooh, and what you're fundraising for? Tell me more about that. How are they linked?
And especially for crowdfunding, it's how do we get people engaged in like in the same way that how do you make a sale? Like, what is in it for them to donate?
Ooh, right there. That's huge. That's such a great link. Because that's going to be your tripwire, right? Is the how to set up the crowdfunding. Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, really quick, what was your feedback for the freebie?
Oh, I didn't get one single no. It was 98% I want it now.
Amazing. Okay, great. So are you going to start taking traction on that this week to create it? Yay. Okay, cool. Awesome. We'll hold you to that by the end of the week. Okay, great. So the why behind your community and what you're fundraising for being linked is so important, right? Because again, like how you said, how do you get people engaged? What's in it for them, right? Same way you make a sale. And I think that's actually a beautiful analogy because a lot of people you're working with, all of them are business owners, right? Or in some way. What's another link? Anything else come to mind?
It's the marketing of a campaign. A lot of people just mentioned like, I don't like to solicit. Just the same way like I don't like to sell.
Okay. I don't like to solicit. So how can you help them overcome that feeling? Like, what do you usually tell people if they say that?
I direct it back to their why and just changing the way that we mark, changing the copy behind it that they sell, that they share.
Ooh, that they share. Making it more to the purpose, the end goal. Remember why you're doing this. That's so interesting that even with fundraising, people are scared to ask for the sale.
It's
That's
a lot.
like, right?
That's half of my mindset has been sales mindset of people.
Wow. It's so interesting because I would think like my first gut reaction would be like, oh my gosh, this is a fundraiser. I'm going to ask like crazy for this. But that's how scary it is sometimes for people to just ask for a sale. Okay, cool. And I think, like you said, if you can keep connecting it back to what the business owner is going through, that'd be really great. Okay, cool. And let's do one more. What's one last link? And you can expand upon this after.
I think what happens after the money. So in community too, it's like, okay, now that I have the money for the goal, how do I direct it back to my community?
Tell me more about that. Like, what would, if someone asked you that question, what would be a response? What would you say?
Well, I think it's the program behind it. So if the goal, a lot of the times what I have to first do, it's like, okay, what is the project behind, and actually lay out the project and the steps for the project and like the project milestones right alongside the fundraising milestones. Because I think for a lot of them, they always say, I will make this project happen when I have the money for it. And then when they have the money for it, they almost go into a shock. Like, I can't, what? Now I have the money, what do I do?
Okay. So maybe even having something, I wonder if this would be useful in like your email sequence for the freebie leading into the crowdfunding. Or I don't know if you were going to put this in the crowdfunding, maybe this could be an email sequence after that, but like exactly that, like, great, I have the money, but now what happens? You know, like having that kind of deer in the headlights almost kind of feeling when they have it. Is that something you work on a lot with your private clients?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Do you have like a framework that you walk them through, like a process that you work pretty much with every client through the same process?
Yes, that's something that I wrote down in my homework. I'm like, oh, let's actually create this framework more properly.
Yeah.
But I have it like in bits and pieces everywhere.
Okay, cool. Could you work on that this week a little bit and I could take a look at it?
Yes.
Because I think that could be, and correct me if I'm wrong for everyone else too, I think to make this, because this can be a little conceptual, so to make it really tangible, having a framework is super helpful. You know what I mean? So if you could go through like, and again, just like we were saying with Holly, like her going on and saying, hey, this is my process, this is what I take people through, it makes it more tangible. It really, really does. So I would love to see, even if you want to just send me your framework so far, like what you just have so far, and we can go from there. And the best way is like, what are those 3 to 5 steps I take people through almost every single time, right? Cool, cool, cool. Heather said, I think some links and keywords could be inclusivity, stronger together, support, relationships, relationship building. I agree. Definitely copy all that, Eva.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Heather.
Yeah. Copy the whole chat right now, because I basically was typing what you said, which most of the time we say the best things and we just go, wait, what did I just say? So it's all there for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Holly said, I think process is so important. I focus a ton on it in the design world. We're conditioned to showing our process and how we get from A to B. And I think it applies in a lot of industries. Agreed. Especially if Eva, that's like a big hurdle for them, is like, what do I actually do? What's the process? That'll be this really, really help them take a big deep breath and go, yep, I can do this. So cool. Excited. Yay. Who wants to go next? And again, anything from yesterday's training you want to implement, questions, or what we were working on from last week that you want to continue on with. Taryn, I'm curious, any ideas for your course? Any more exploration into that?
So I only just yesterday threw up like a poll on my stories, and I gave them 2 options. It was the one that I was thinking about, and then a completely different one that's like how to work through a limiting belief, basically. And on Instagram, it was like 90% wanted the limiting beliefs, and on Facebook, it was 100% wanting the limiting beliefs. So I'm like, oh, so you don't want the 30-day moon course launch? Good thing I asked. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with, in terms of what I could create in like a mini course for folks.
And it's also important to remember too, sometimes when things are so, not that they're so different, but like limiting beliefs, moon course, different, right?
Sure.
Sometimes when they're that different, people just pick one because they have to pick one. But if you had like limiting beliefs and something else that was similar but phrased a little differently, and then on the next slide it was like the moon course and something else, they might have picked both. So just remember, it doesn't mean that they don't want that one. It's just out of those 2, that's what they'd pick, you know?
Yeah. Well, in terms of like what I'd create next, I'm going to create the thing that more people would want. And that's like what I love talking about anyway. So
I was going to say, it's as long as it's in line with like your passions. And was that part, when you did the exercise yesterday, is that one of the things you wrote down as like what you want to be known for or what you want people to hire you for?
So when I wrote that from last week, what I wanted to be known for is I want to be known for showing people that they can have massive success without hustling 24/7. And that's directly because that's what I used to do, was hustle 24/7. I was burnt out and I hated my life. So I want to show others how they don't have to do that. You don't have to be burnt out. You don't have to be that all or nothing kind of person. You can live in the and space. So that's what I came up with. But being a multi-passionate person, hi Holly, being a multi-passionate person, I think like you could ask me today and it's probably going to be different. You can ask me next week and it's probably going to be different. And I think when I think about what I struggle with, I do think it's like, well, sometimes my messaging revolves around this and other times my messaging revolves around that, but they're all, I guess, under the same
umbrella.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, Holly, if you want to, chime in here, more than happy, please. But Taryn, what would you say is that big umbrella message, the you don't have to hustle 24/7 to have success, or is it bigger than that? And when you have an umbrella message, and Holly, let me know if you disagree with this, but I think it can be very broad and big and almost seem vague, but it's not, because it's personal to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, like my, I guess, vague umbrella message would be like, this is how to become an intentional dreamer. But there are so many, like your subcategories or your sub brands are what fill in those questions, if that makes sense. So like mine are design coaching and like wearing stuff that makes you feel like an intentional dreamer, if that makes sense. So basically just figuring out what that is and then filling those in with your sub brands.
Yeah, I feel like honestly that what I just said is probably more of a sub brand.
Yeah, I think so too.
Versus like my overall, like, can we just help all the humans and all live in like harmony and peace? Like, that's probably more of an umbrella, like a big idea. So yeah.
Cool. I love it. I think a cool exercise for you could be, what if like Taryn had to leave her mark on the world, if you could say one thing, what would you say?
Shy over here. Yeah.
Good. Actually, that's really good. That's a good sign. Yeah. When I say mine, I tear up every single time as well. And mine's very broad and vague as well. It's like, I want every single human to feel fully themselves when they're showing up.
Yeah.
That's very broad and vague, but it's 100% what I lead with. Now, everything else is very much, and all of a sudden we get nitty gritty and we're talking about, launch strategy. How do you get that from that big thing? It's, it's kind of going down and reverse engineering. So I think that could be a really cool exercise for you, Taryn. And then when you get to the point of the limiting belief sub brand, and actually, because we kind of did this at the beginning, let me show you how you could do it within this document that we were having you do. So it's all in one and you don't feel like you're doing a ton of separate things. It could be like at the top of this is like, what is your big brand message? And that's going to be part of probably what you stand against and stand for, and going to be one of your pillars. And then when you're going through your expertises and you're writing it out, just so you can get more granular, for example, umbrella marketing, right? What Holly could do, but even more in depth than this, obviously these are 3 different ways, but what are other specific subtopics you could talk about under umbrella marketing, right? So let me just use this one, for example, because it's right here. Why does it keep signing me in and out? It's so weird. So sales, authentic sales. She could do educational content on authentic sales. And what she did was dump all of the different things she could talk about underneath it. Let me go back to over here. Guiding questions to ask on sales calls, tips to create content that drives sales, how to effectively and authentic, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like there's like 10 plus specific ideas. That's just a little subtopic of a little subtopic of a pillar. So starting from that big grandiose seems overwhelming, but then when you break it down, you're like, wow, I'm going to literally have content for months. And that's when it all feels cohesive, because it's not random. It's actually one of your pillars and one of the things you want to be known for. So I think for you, Taryn, this exercise would be really powerful. And then what we could do is that when you get to the limiting beliefs section, and you do that brain dump of specific topics, let's take that specifically and go, great, how can I create a course from this that my audience wants, right? Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%.
Cool. I think that'd be awesome. Are you excited to create that course? Is that something you want to do? Like,
yeah,
do?
like super excited. Yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
And when you were talking, when you were just talking to Eva about, the framework that you use to walk people through like that, like when I see this as like, this is kind of what I do with my coaching, but I know not everybody's going to sign up one-on-one with me. And I know not everybody's going to, but I do want to help people where they're at. And I don't want to leave people, sorry, can't help you because I don't have space in my schedule for you. Like that just seems kind of silly. So
yeah, exactly. And it's also like, some people aren't going to be right for that offer,
Right.
whether it's they can't afford it right now. And this is that fine line of like, this is why having your free content and your lower price content be full and complete in itself. I mean, we talked about this a lot with VP in Entrepreneur. It's so important because then when you do sell your higher ticket stuff, you don't have to feel like I'm neglecting people because they can't afford it. It's like, you have to also protect your energy and your time.
Yeah.
You can't give everyone the same equal amount of energy and time all the time, right?
Yep.
So this will be such a great way for you to like you said, here's the framework. I'm going to be serving these people who can't work with me one-on-one and feel really great about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yay. So hopefully, or not hopefully, can you, by the end of the week, go through this exercise and map out a tentative framework for your limiting beliefs course?
Yes.
Yay. Awesome. Exciting. We're all going to want that. That sounds like amazing.
Thank you.
I think everyone can use that, right? Myself included. They never go away. They just get like easier to handle. Cool. Gabby, I'd love to hear some updates on how everything's going. I know we were talking about a ton of things in the doc. So out of everything we were talking about, anything specific that you want to really hone in on?
I just realized that you had replied and put comments because in my phone I couldn't see the comments. So I was checking again today.
Good.
But like watching the training, I watched the training today, and for me again is thinking about what could be like. I love creating offers. I'm not a person that sticks to something. I have many things, and it's like, I don't know, the program already flourished and I can let go. It's like it worked, it served many people, and then maybe I can keep it, or maybe I just like move on. So what I was thinking is creating, as I work with life design, life has different pillars. So it's work, health, play, and love. So I already created Work Well. So it's all about work. And I have this idea of creating things for the different pillars, like for love, because I do think I reflect family. I reflect relationships. That's what people see in my profile.
Yeah.
And that's what, as I did the branding survey to my clients, they all think like, I also am very genuine. I'm really love, like I care about you. So I think I could do the love well part. And I also think I could do the be well. So like, because for me, that well-being is like emotional and also takes care of your mind and also takes care of your spirit. And I do know about mindfulness, and I am a yoga teacher, and like I know things so that I could craft something for people. And then like my ultimate dream would be to create this life design 1-year program in English, finally, like a really high ticket offer, probably bringing the creator of life design there to give a talk. Like he's my mentor, so definitely I could do that. Like that's what I would love to have this amazing experience year long, where you could get all my courses and everything. So that's what I've been thinking about. But also like it's what could be next, with all of these things. What could I do? Because I don't thrive doing small courses. Like I'm not the person that enjoys doing like tiny videos and selling the videos. Like I thrive in a live container, like coming to sessions, training live. That's what I love. Not really like giving you small tips and then like not a good enough transformation or what people would love.
Okay, cool. You know what's so cool about what you're experiencing? It's almost one of those, and I'm sure some of you who've had this, like really big vision for your business or just your life, it's so big that it's like overwhelming because you're like, wait, this is going to be so big. I don't know. Where do I start? Right. And I can just see this, Gabby, as you were speaking. I don't know if I think everyone probably felt it too. I was like, this is going to be like, I'm picturing a huge live event where it's like different sections, you know, because like you said, this is like all aspects of your life that you really can help them master. It's like life mastery, essentially.
I actually did like a conference, like in 2019, I did a live conference in Ecuador.
Oh, amazing.
With the founder of Live Design. It was beautiful. Like it was a lot of work and I lost money, but I didn't care. Like it was like I did everything by myself, and there were 120 people, and I got sponsors.
Wow.
And I got other people. Like it was amazing. I paid for all the tickets. I don't know what was happening in my head, but it was something beautiful what I did.
Yeah.
So I did that 2 years ago, which was a lot of work, but it was something that could happen.
Yeah. And if you did it this next time, I think you'd first go, okay, how can I make an actual profit with this? Profit margins first. And also get help, you know, you're at that point where now you can maybe get an event planner or get someone to help you with it. But as far as like creating what to create next, there's so many options. I wrote down love well and be well, because you already said you have to work well. So if you don't want to do like a step-by-step course where they just buy it and go do it, you can create a course first with a live version. And what you can do is like, say CAA, for example, the first version of that, I could have just mapped out the modules and done the live teachings first, and then recorded those and made those the course. And there's my course. And that's something you can totally do. So is that something you want to consider?
Yeah, like it's something I want to explore. That's how I did Alma. Like Alma, I did it 6 rounds live. And then finally on the 7th, I recorded the session, I recorded the modules actually. But for Workwell, I did all the modules like on while I was coaching, you know, like, Yeah. So for this, I imagine, I imagine maybe even I don't know, like a training, maybe not a meeting on Zoom, but like a webinar. So it's still live, but there's no maybe interactions between people. So that could be like less, more accessible for them.
Okay, cool. And would you do it like, were you thinking like is Alma, how many weeks is Alma? 6 weeks?
Alma is 10 weeks.
Oh, it's 10 weeks. Okay. So you're thinking a longer program like that, or are you thinking a lower priced, shorter program?
Yeah, I think a lower price, and maybe like when I was thinking about Be Well, maybe I could have someone that it's like a psychologist that can talk about also some stuff, or a health coach, like other experts.
Yeah.
So that for one, or like Play Well, that I was thinking, I'm not the expert on play, but maybe that one could be like the really small one, like really bring joy into your life. Like that I could do, like joy, because I'm not the most creative or other things. So those are like the ideas I have, like just dreaming and thinking of options.
I love it. Well, you have Love Well, Be Well, and Play Well left, right? So which one do you want to tackle first? Which one speaks to you the most? Which one do you think your audience needs the most?
I think it's either Be Well or Love Well. Like maybe Be Well, I think.
Okay. So let's make
that resonates.
Why don't you take out, it's the same thing Jess is doing actually, reference back to module 3 in CAA, or honestly, however it feels good to you to map out an offer. You don't have to use that. And map out tentatively like a template for this offer, right? So who's it going to really be for? What's it going to help them experience? What's their transformation going to be like? All those steps. And then let's look and say what really is necessary for their transformation, right? And the thing about, so we can think how long it has to be, because there's no like rule, right? 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 8 weeks. They're all kind of arbitrary. It's like, really, what is the actual length of time? You could have a 3-week program. Like it doesn't have to be this like predetermined thing that people just started saying. 12 weeks is like the program length. I don't know what it was. So that way we can go, all right, what's really necessary? And And also one thing to think too is, what is the complete transformation just for the Be Well, if you're going to start with that one, knowing full well, you know, yes, I want to add all this other stuff, but they're going to get that in Love Well. And that's going to be a transformation.
And also, I'm thinking maybe Be Well can then conduct for them to Alma. So like, because Alma is also like well-being, but I wanna, like, I need to make it different so that
actually, why don't you, when you're writing that all down, also say, how is this the precursor to Alma? And how is it different? Why would someone go from this to Alma? And what are the biggest differences between the two? And remember, you can have things overlap. Like, for example, I'm just using this as a reference because you know this program. CAA module 1, I can make a whole mini course on ideal client clarity, right? And that could be a mini course on that. And I could upsell into CAA. Just because one of the modules is the same, no one's going to care. They have 8 other really in-depth modules. So it's remembering that too, is maybe don't reinvent the wheel and look at Alma and say, what from here can I actually take as almost like a sneak peek? You know what I mean? That I can build upon. So you're not like totally starting from scratch. Does that make sense?
And Meg, I have a question that I was thinking. So how can I know you sell CA as a self-paced course sometimes. I knew it. There was a time you sold that as a self-paced. So I was thinking, how can I do maybe Work Well self-paced, but not compete with my own offer? So, okay, I'm going to do it self-paced and then I'm not going to do the program.
Okay. So Work Well. Oh, your Work Well experience as instead of a live course.
Yeah.
So you mean it not compete with like Be Well, Love Well, Play Well, or not?
No, more like, imagine I want to do Work Well experience, but right now I don't have the money. So I'll just take self-paced and then I'm going to be like, okay, I'm not going to go to the higher ticket because I already got the course.
Oh, gotcha. So like the live version of it, essentially. Okay. So one thing you can do, well, knowing your launch schedule will help. Like, say if you want to do that now, you're like, I'm going to just sell the course. When do you think you'll want to do the live version? Because if you want to do it like next month, for example, I'd say don't sell the course right now. But if you're like, I'm not going to want to do it till 2022, totally. And what you could do is do a discount for people who already have the course, right? Like, hey, you get access to the live training for this discount, you know, this amount of money. Even UCM people now and CAA vice versa get money off CAA. So it's like, so it encourages them to take that next step. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. And how do you price that? Like if Work Well experience is 5K, and that's with, I would believe that's like your mastermind. Like I crafted it with one-on-one sessions with experts.
Yeah.
But it's 5K. So what would be like the self-paced without coaching worth? I was thinking 1.5, but I don't know.
1,500. What do you value your hourly at? So we can see like how much really is the coaching cost? How much are they paying for the actual coaching?
200.
Okay. And you do how much one-on-one with them?
One-on-one is just one session per month. So 1,000.
Sorry, say that again. 1,000?
Yeah, because it's 200 per month and it's 5 months.
Oh, it's 5 months. Okay, great. So it's 1,000 for one-on-one. And then how much group do you have?
Basically 3 times per month, because they have 2 calls with me and 1 with an expert. 2 with me, 1 with an expert.
So that's 3,000 because I'm just doing the 2, you know, the same amount. So that's 4,000 and it's a $5,000 program. So I actually think anywhere between $997 to $1,997 is great. So self-paced course, $997 to $1,997. So say you price it at, split the difference, like you originally said, $1,500 or $1,497. For them to join the live version next year, they would just pay $3,500 because they already bought the course. Does that make sense?
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And like the biggest difference is to help them understand like what's the value of that live component. it's kind of great because in a sense, if they've already gone through the course, they might have some clarity, right? And they're making headway, but there's nothing like live coaching. So you could say, maybe you've had this much traction, but what if you could do X, Y, Z, right? And once someone knows you and trusts you and sees the value of your program, they're way more likely to invest in that next level with you, and they want that next level. So I definitely think one thing too that you can add, Gabby, is some kind of incentive. So like, not only do they get it for $3,500, which is essentially what they'd pay for the full course anyway, they also maybe get like a 30-minute bonus call with you to use throughout the program. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, just incentivizes them a little bit too. Yay,
I
I'm
love
excited. Cool. Well,
Thank
map
you.
out some of your Be Well, because that's the next one you're working on, and we can help you kind of get more finalized with that.
Okay.
Yay.
Perfect. Thank
Awesome.
you.
I love it. Nina and Heather, what's going on? Don't all speak at once.
I mean, I can go, I suppose.
Yeah.
I do have a question working on my educational posts.
Yeah.
I feel like I am educating my audience on things a lot when I go back and look at like my Instagram. But I think the problem, quote unquote, it's not really a problem, but the issue is that my education posts are also more motivational than educational. So it's like I'm educating them on how to deal with certain emotions. So it's like it's more motivating than educational. So basically my question is like, should I be working towards more educational posts that are specific towards like fitness? Because obviously, like when I did my branding survey, I'm like known for body positivity, fitness, all of that kind of stuff. Motivation, positivity in general. And so it's not that I don't do educational posts. It's just that I think my educational posts are also very inspirational.
Yeah, which is great. That's not a bad thing. It's actually awesome. You're like, I hate this phrase, so we need to come up with a different one, but you're killing two birds with one stone. You know what I mean with that. So it's not a bad thing at all. I think it's really like the way I would approach this, if you're going to do more like straight up, here's like, what's an example of a really blunt educational post you're thinking of, like how to do this workout? Or
I'm thinking more along the terms of like, hang on, let me look at my notes. I'm thinking more along the terms of like, how do I show my expertise? Because like, I think that because my posts are motivational, I think people come for me for inspiration and motivation.
Yeah.
But again, that doesn't necessarily translate to buyable for them.
Yeah.
So I don't have that tangible thing yet, but I know that I need to have like authority and expertise rather than just being the person you go look at when you need that motivation.
Yeah. Right now, it's almost like you're building more of an influencer account than a coaching account.
Yes, exactly. That's
100%.
actually really true.
It's so normal to kind of slip into, especially with the kind of work you do. It really is. So I just want to like normalize that because it's very, very normal. And it's going to take a little bit of experimenting. And just from you, boldly asking for the sale more and talking a little bit more about investing, which is scary sometimes, right? If you haven't done it a lot. And I just want to like, I don't want to like scare you. This isn't scary, but you might lose some people who are just there for free motivational content. And that's okay because you can't help everyone. And you got to also make a living and support yourself and build your empire, you know? So just want to like put that in perspective because that might happen. But when all said and done, the people who've invested in Geeknasium, did you interview them at all as to like why they picked Geeknasium, why they're staying, like things like that?
Yeah, I did that for CAA, so I still have some of that like info. Yeah.
Cool.
And then another thing that's a little disheartening about it is that like a couple of people who were in Geeknasium who I interviewed have since left just because of like financial stuff. So it's almost like, well, you didn't listen to yourself, you know.
Yeah.
But they're also still very comfortable, like they still filled out my branding survey and things like that. So it's like I still
great.
see that they see value in Geeknasium. I think that it's just one of those situations where they had the experience, they got educated on like how on the self-love and all of that, and like now they're utilizing more free online resources.
Yeah.
And so again,
they weren't how like do you know the average life of your customer in Geeknasium?
Well, it's hard. I would have to do some math because I've got people who've been with me for years. And one of the people who just left is actually one of those people who've been with me for like since I started Geeknasium.
Oh, wow.
So that's like 2 years. And then I've got some people who like do the 3 months and then they leave. So I would say it's average maybe like a year.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I would say about a year. But yeah, I've got people who have re-signed for a year, and I've got people who after their 3 months are like, not again.
This is really nitty gritty, but this is part of like the big idea process yesterday that I went over. I would love it if you could write out like your longest clients. So the person who was there for 2 years, 1 year, all of that, right next to it, why they joined Geeknasium, and try to get real specific. Like, why did they actually hand over their money, right? And then right next to that, what about your program was different? Like, why did they stay? And if you don't have that information, literally go ask them.
Yeah.
Because then we can go, okay, great. What are the things that are making them take action? And that's what you can do more on your social pages. And that's going to be big. And another thing too, I think you could start to talk about is educating your audience on why investing is so important. And it's not like you're going to become an account that always talks about money. You know, that's not what it is. But it's like saying, hey, sometimes you got to invest. And I think it's being a little bit more bold. And then, but the thing is, Heather, too, you can back that up because you practice what you preach. You invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know? So I think that's going to be a huge, huge part of it too, is even if it's like once a week talking about it and getting comfortable talking about investing and money and like how it's an energy and it's really going to be that thing that helps you actually feel great and all that stuff. We can make it so it feels good for you. But I think those two things, finding what are the specific things they said, let's do more of that content, that action taking content, and then talking about investing.
Okay.
Yeah. Getting you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I love it. Fun fact, I saw Heather really quick on Friday. It was great.
It was so fun.
I surprised her. She texted me when I was out in the city and thought I ignored her text, but little did she know, I sneakily went to where she was to surprise her. It was great. She's like, what are you doing here? It was awesome. It was really fun. Cool. Awesome, love. Yeah, do that stuff. Drop it in a doc. For everyone for Voxer, just so it's not too overwhelming, just drop it in a document and drop it in Voxer, and I'll just go in and put notes there. It's probably easier for everyone. And that way you have it. And you don't have to like copy paste from Voxer too. I love working in Google Docs, so it's much easier. Nina, let's bring it home. And then Jess, if you're watching this recording, I'm going to go into your document right after this and look through and give you notes on your offer.
I could say it was hard. That was fucking challenging.
What was hard about it?
Well, so I was like, I don't know. Like at first I asked like my clients, like I didn't pull I was like mid-launch, so I didn't pull the people in the middle of my launch, but I worked this week though, because I'm not. But what I thought was interesting is when I asked people like why they hired me, it was more like, well, a couple of things. When I noticed like with the end of my launch, a lot of people were I think I had like 4 or 5, maybe 6 people in my DM saying like, I love how chill you are during your launch. Like it just seems like chill. There's no pressure. Like, and then I put it on my story. I'm like, ooh, should I make a course on this like launch and chill kind of deal? And they were like, yes, do that. Everyone was like, yes, because like I think launching makes people feel a lot of pressure. So that was what I noticed like initially. And then when I asked my clients why they hired me, one girl decided to tell me that because I say fuck a lot and just like her. So that was cool. But she said, really, no, she said, cause that and cause like I'm like silly and just like bring personality into my brand. And then a lot of two of the other girls said, because they trust me, and the last girl had said, like, I just asked people that just joined my mini mind just because I was curious. And the last girl had ended up saying because it seems like I just have a lot of like flow and it works best for my life. Like, and it's like a fun and silly vibe too.
Okay, awesome. And so taking that all in, what can you do with that information now? Like, what can you do more of? What can you do less of? Did it spark any new ideas for programs or events or anything like that?
So I don't know, like I thought that was kind of interesting because like it seemed like no one was like, because I don't do a lot of like mini trainings or anything, so no one was like, I love your education shit. Like,
yeah,
that's not really like my brand. I don't really run with that, but I mean I could obviously, but I think they just like more of like the, not the flowiness. I don't consider myself more of a feminine type of coach, but it was interesting because I guess like I think because I do shit so last minute that I'm just like whatever, like it's fine. It works.
Ooh, I have a great idea. And I don't know if this is something like you're even wanting to do, is creating a new offer, but something along, I love who said it in there? They said something like love, launch, and chill, or I said how to take a nap while you launch. I think that's probably silly. But something like the last minute launcher, I'm really big on alliteration too. But like how to, if you're essentially targeting the last minute person, or the last minute Lucy's, however you want to say it, right? Like if you're like me and you do things last minute, this is how you can do it successfully because you've built a business doing, I mean, I don't know if everything's been last minute, but do you feel like, okay, there you go, great. And it works for you and you don't seem stressed out about it and you're able to still tap into that creativity. And so it's not necessary that you'll do a whole different program, but maybe you even take that and you market a current offer slightly differently. Do you have anything launch related or creating marketing content related, any program like that?
I don't, and that's why I wanted to create, like that was like one of my next thing, because I wanted to create some kind of launch program, because every single program that I like host, create, or even my one-on-one clients, I have to go through the whole fucking launch plan with people. So I mean, I obviously have my own spin on launching and launch plan. Like I have a strategic, but it's usually like the day of, I'm like, okay, today we're going to post about FOMO. Cool. Like, that's great. But like, what are we going to post? That's not like laid out for 3 months. So yeah. I really wanted to be able to create, like, show them what like the pre-launches and warming up your audience. And then like, I have a warm audience accelerator, but that wasn't like on launching. That was just warming up your audience to launch.
Yeah. I love that. Well, I mean, I would do a little, again, research before we start developing anything. But since you're not in launch this week, could you do a little bit more?
Yeah.
I mean, Taryn, you said that's you, and I've a lot of clients who are similar. So, I maybe interview Taryn too. So message each other, and you can give her some feedback. But the last minute launcher, if you saw a program like that, be honest, like what would come to mind for you? Not that you have to name your program. Not that you have to name your program this. I'm curious what Taryn would say. And again, it could be named something different, but like, I'm in how much. So what about that appeals to you? Like when you see that word, what do you think? Or those words?
There's good Taryn.
Taryn, yeah.
Yes, sorry. Could you say that one more time?
Yeah, when you see that term, what do you think when you see last minute launcher?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely how I've approached literally everything since day one in my business. Like I kind of just, I throw stuff together. I've tried to do like posts ahead of time. That is not how I work. I literally can sit down for 5 minutes and put out a pretty awesome post, and people are like, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know, I just do it. And that's just how I roll. And it's probably my ADHD, like my actual diagnosed ADHD, like it's just how I work. But it sounds enticing because I think for a lot of people, myself included, these whole launch schedules and launch plans are so overwhelming for my brain. I cannot sit down and plan it out. And in fact, I don't want to. Like, I want to do things last minute. I want to do things that are in flow and fun and not pressure and not stressed out, because the last thing I want to do is be stressed the F out for a launch and not even enjoy the process? And then what am I showing people that I want to do the very, like, I don't want them to be pressured and burnt out doing their thing. So why would I show up and do that myself? That's not practicing what I preach. So last minute launcher, I'm in. Sign me up.
I don't even know if you like that name, Nina.
It sounds fun. I mean, I think people be like, what the fuck does that mean? But like, we just got to explain it.
Exactly. Like that would be just the hook. I think the thing that's cool about that, again, throw it out, tweak it, however, whatever you want to do with it, would be like the last minute launcher, semicolon, your step-by-step system to capitalize or leverage your last minute tendencies, but actually have success, but actually make money, but actually inject cash into your business, whatever it is, right? So they're still going to get the purpose of launching, which is to make money, to sell out their programs, to inject cash into their business, but they're not going to have to pretend to be someone they're not, right? Like embracing their last minute self and not trying to force themselves like a square peg in a round hole kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I think. Like, I could probably say something like launch and chill in there too.
Yeah. I'm a bobblehead over here. Holly said too, launch plans have literally kept me from launching. I put some questions in there, that I would write down. What overwhelms you about launching? What do you think of when you hear the word? What stops you from doing it? What do you like about it? And then also share what you just said. If I created something that helped you launch literally while chilling, while going on vacation, while doing things last minute, but not feeling stressed out about it, right? All those, basically, I would look at your launch strategy this past week and just every time and go, what does my method allow me to do, right? What does it still allow me to do? And what does it allow me not to do? Have a launch hangover, be burnt out from my launch and need like a month off. All those other things that people experience, because this is going to really hit a different market, because a lot of people need this. A lot of people, no matter what, they're not going to follow a really big laid out launch plan, but they need something like this. So
I'm like, am I hypocritical? I'm doing a launch plan on not launching. It's
like you're doing, no, the reason people need this is like, they still have to do something, right? They still have got to, if you don't do anything, you're not going to get business. So this is going to be something that they can adjust to their tendencies, right? So they can have some semblance of structure, but not in a overwhelming, here's your 3-week mapped out plan where every single post is laid out. Launch Like a Lady Boss is that. It's very step by step by step by step, because that's how I do it, right? And so that's not going to be for everyone. Not everyone's going to be like, most people will be probably overwhelmed with that in a sense, unless you're really type A. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's kind of how I learned, but then I learned from like 4 different coaches, so I kind of just pieced it all together and did it what felt right, and it works. I mean, but people are always so intrigued. Like, I think that for me, I think a lot of people are like, you always have such good launches, but you seem so chill. Like, they all say that, and they're like, oh, like all these people join your program, or all these people join even your free masterclass. Like, even that they want, like, yeah. That's really big too. Like, I think my last one was like 78 people, and they were like, how? Like, yeah, how do you do that?
Write out how you do it and start asking those questions. And let's, by the end of next week, let's have a plan for a new course or a new program for you. Yay. Taryn's like, please do it and interview Taryn.
I will. Now that I'm not launching, now that I'm just chill.
Yeah, right. But I definitely, if people are saying the word chill, put that in the title too.
Yeah, that's so what I noticed too, like, and you said it, and I think that was something that like clicked to me just now, is that like, I think during this launch, I was on vacation twice. Like, I was in New York, New Jersey, and then I was also then in Florida for a week. So yeah, nothing happened, nothing changed.
Yeah.
I still showed up, not as much as I would if I was at home. Like, I wasn't on 5 days a week, but 2, 3, 4 days a week.
Yeah. I think that's something that people need too. Like, they need to know they don't have to, it doesn't have to be a perfect scenario, because life's going to happen while you're launching. And so how do you adjust accordingly so you can really help them with that too? It's very like sustainable.
So I think that's like something that goes into some like part of the brand that I think I want to incorporate in general, because it's like my thing is like doing business your way. Like you don't have to do it a certain way. Like some of my clients don't want to do sales calls and they don't have to. Like I sell all in the DMs, and some of my clients love sales calls, but it's just like I adjust it for them. Obviously, I can teach you sales calls. I know it, but if you don't want to do it, you don't have to.
Exactly. That could be when you do this content exercise, which again, I'll drop everything in Voxer for you guys. But when you do this content exercise, that should 100% be one of your main pillars, is like doing business your way and writing down all the subtopics of things you could talk about in that, right? And launching could be one. If you want to be known for that, how do you do it your way? Well, maybe your way is chill. Maybe your way isn't chill. Maybe you take your chill, launch and chill course, if that's whatever you call it, and they up it a notch, or they take it down a notch, whatever it is, and you help them customize it for them specifically. Cool. I love it.
I gotta rewatch that part, but okay.
Wait,
Catching
which part?
possums and shit.
Say that again.
I missed the beginning of this. I gotta rewatch.
Oh yeah, that's okay. I'll upload it right away and I'll send it to you guys like in an hour or so. And I walked you guys through this exercise that I want everyone to do, because it'll just be so like, it'll literally plan your content out for months and months and months. And it's a really good, like, if you ever struggle with content when you're not launching, this is what you can go to, which a lot of people I work with struggle with that, myself included sometimes. I'm like, now what? You know, you can always go back to this plan, because it's really what you're standing for, what you're standing against, and what you want to be known for, and building that expertise up. Well, yay. Awesome. All right. We'll be back in Vox the next 2 days. Thank you for, again, staying over. I'm probably always going to go over a little bit. Sorry. But let's keep rocking it in Voxer, put everything in there and add to your document any questions you have. And yay, I'm so excited. You're all amazing. This has been really fun. Yay. Awesome, everyone. I'll see you all in Vox tomorrow, and I'll upload everything today probably, so you'll see a notification later. Bye. Bye, everyone.